read this. Oh, yeah, have we started? Okay, we can start, sorry. I get so excited about going, sometimes I forget about the recording. So much fun. All right, at 6:30, I call this meeting in order of the Lincoln County Planning Commission. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded. The events will go as follows. For a public hearing, staff will introduce the agenda, present a summary of the staff report. The applicant will then be asked to explain their proposal in further detail and to answer any questions from the Planning Commission members. I will then open the floor to public comment, first for persons in support of the application, and then for persons in opposition of the application. When you step to the podium, please state your name, address, and speak clearly into the microphone. Speakers are encouraged only to address new and relevant information pertaining to the item. Above all, please be cordial to all meeting participants and refrain from side conversations and speaking out of turn, or you'll be asked to leave. Lastly, decisions of the conditional use permit applications may be appealed to the County Board of Commissioners and by submitting a letter to the County Planning Zoning Office within 5 business days. All right, with that, we'll do call to order. Commissioner Instead?
Here.
Commissioner Hogan?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
And Commissioner Jungling's here. All right, approval of the meeting minutes. Commissioners, you guys, them all mailed out earlier, and did you have any questions or anything regarding those? All right, with that, I'll ask for a motion in a second to approve the meeting minutes.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for June 21st.
I'll second.
All right, motion and second. Any further discussion? All right, that'll do roll call. Commissioner Instead?
Yes.
Commissioner Hogan?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
And Commissioner Jungling says yes. All right, approval of the meeting agenda. Mr. Brown, there's any adjustments to the agenda?
No changes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I'll ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to accept the agenda.
I'll second.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion? No. All right, we'll do a roll call. Commissioner Instead?
Yes.
Commissioner Hogan?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
And Commissioner Jungling's a yes. All right, at this time, I'll ask if there's any members of the audience like to come up and speak on anything not related to the agenda tonight. All right, kind of quiet out there, so we'll move on to, what are we moving on to? Old business? Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Chairman. So this first item is an application from Richard Peters for a preliminary subdivision plan for residential development. Combined parcel size is approximately 17 acres. This property is approximately 2 miles to the west of the city of T. And again, this is an application for a preliminary subdivision plan. If you recall, this item was tabled at the meeting last month, and so there was no advertisement for the public hearing, so this will just be for your consideration. You can certainly ask staff any questions and the applicant any questions if you have them, but we won't be taking public comment on this particular item. Since the last meeting, staff has had a chance to meet with the applicant and his representatives and came up with a revised plan for the area that does meet the concerns that staff had at the last meeting as far as length of the cul-de-sac and connectivity to the adjacent subdivision. So just to the east of this property, you will be receiving next month an application for a preliminary plan for that development. So that development and this development did coordinate and establish that there would be access to that through to that subdivision. We did send the revised plans to our consultant for review. The remaining items was just that they need a copy of the covenants, proposed covenants, and any other proposed agreements, homeowners association. And they also concerned that lot 12 does not have an access to a proposed subdivision road, that access would be off the arterial or 466th Avenue. Again, additional comments would be is that there are potential wetland impacts on the property, and those will need to be mitigated, and staff will be notified of those mitigations. As well as the last comment that off-site point flows will not be allowed if it's anticipated on the downstream property, that it should be developed to mitigate any impacts to those downstream properties. However, as presented and as revised, staff does recommend approval of this application. Any of those changes that identified could be addressed prior to the public hearing before the Board of County Commissioners. And so with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have for staff at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Commissioners, do you have any questions for staff? All right. Since we saw a decent amount of change on this one, I'd ask the applicant if he's around to, there you are, hi, to come up and speak on your changes and the process.
Richard Peters, 27228 South Dakota Highway 17T. After meeting with a number of people, planning and zoning, and talking about what we were lacking, I guess, last time around, we did go and met with all of the people that are involved in the proposed development to the east of us. I think that's going to be a good relationship between the two of us. We are going to connect the two developments together. I know there was a little talk here about wetlands. I have had the delineation work done. We're still waiting to hear back from the Corps. It sounds as though they're probably not going to be jurisdictional. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. But yeah, I think every point that we had a question on before, we've addressed and I hope taken care of.
All right. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Peters?
I think you've done a really nice job of making amendment or changes to your plan, everything that we asked, especially the fact now that it will be able to connect with the other development, I think is a very good deal for access and the shorter cul-de-sacs. So, thank you for your patience with us on that.
No, I have no comment. I think this layout looks a lot better than the other one myself, just personally.
Yep. I agree. Is that
Much better.
off Epic Street, is that your existing driveway or would that be a new driveway?
That'll be new coming off 466 or Highway 17. And for the highway department to allow us to have that, we're actually have to excavate and give up our current driveway. So we will then access our current home off the north end of the cul-de-sac on Noble Circle.
So you'll be lot one.
Lot zero.
What's that?
Yeah, lot zero.
Oh, okay. Oh, I get you. That's not on.
Your property is to the north of this.
My property's
yes.
to the north,
Okay.
correct. So that's not actually part of this subdivision.
And then lot 12, that access is from the county road there.
Correct.
And,
Correct.
And that was the same as it was last.
Correct.
And so the access is there, by you giving up that access doesn't cause any problems for lot 12, then there's enough.
Correct, right. That one is going to be a shared access with the property owner to the south. And in visiting with Terry, that was good with him.
And this Epic Street is the one that's going to go up into the new development, the other development, correct?
Correct.
North is still left on the map.
Much improved.
And drainage, will that all go on the street and over to Highway 17?
I better introduce myself. I'm Scott Lavoie, DGR Engineering. I'm Dick's consultant. As far as the drainage is concerned, most of it's gonna go to the south and to the east. So top side of your screen and to the right side of your screen, which follows kind of the existing drainage patterns that are out there. The county's requirement is that we meet the 5, the 25, and the 100-year rates, pre-development rates, and with our, with the existing wetlands that are out there, we're building some new ditches along the sides of the roads, so there's some detention within those ditches, so we actually believe that we're gonna be contributing less runoff than what currently is out there right now, so we think we're gonna be just fine as far as meeting the county's requirements.
Will those ditches then retain the water until it
It'll
dries up?
It'll be slow enough with the culverts and whatnot that it'll detain water slightly, in order for everything to catch up, so I think it'll be good, so.
And then between the developments, is there a ditch, like, is that how, I mean, you're not gonna be putting water onto to the east?
Right, we talked to the neighboring developer and, we discussed that we'd have like a little swale on the property line between our two developments where it would be not necessarily a ditch, but more of just a depression where the water can flow, and we're gonna have a drainage easement along the eastern edge where we share property boundaries.
And I guess again, that's not something that's being added or something new. That, whatever you wanna call it, ditch, whatever, that's already exists, that's there. We're not trying to make water go any place other than how it's already been flowing.
Yeah, no, I get that. Sometimes, I think we had this discussion, was it last week? Cropland and grassland, they flow differently, so, but I understand what you're saying. All right, commissioners, do you have any additional questions?
I have one other just comment,
Oh,
Jerry,
yes,
if I
Scott.
could. Last time we talked about the mutual access agreement for, instead of a right-of-way, we're planning on going to right-of-way since we are connecting to the neighboring development. Just the road maintenance portion of that would be complicated if we were to do that as a mutual access agreement instead of right-of-way, so we just decided to go with plotted right-of-way instead, so. And our plan would be to create a road district for maintenance, or if approved, we would join the neighboring development's road district and be a part of theirs.
And that's all assuming the next development goes through.
Correct, so if they didn't, we'd create our own road district, basically.
I have no other questions.
None here.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, with that, I'll ask for a motion from the commission.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve with the conditions. I believe are there conditions on there? No. I don't have them. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any comments, commissioners?
I think they've done a nice job
discussion?
of, you know, making their changes based on what we talked about last month.
Yeah, I agree. The way it was brought last week or last month, I'm not a fan of that, especially with the easements and all that, but this is nice and clean.
I agree.
I really like the fact that the two divisions will tie together. I think that, other than just having the access to the county road there, I think is a big upgrade, other than not just the shorter cul-de-sacs. So.
And the fact that they worked on this to better this and then working with the other one to better that whole area is definitely a plus.
Okay, there's no additional comments. I'll do a roll call. Commissioner Ensted,
Yes.
Commissioner Hogan,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jungling's a yes. Congratulations. All right, next, Mr. Brown.
This next application is an application to change the zone of a parcel from the A1 Agricultural District to the C Commercial District. Applicants are Kenneth K., Linda, and Scott Hoffman. This subject property is approximately half a mile south of the city of T. Parcel size is 2 acres in size. As you can see, there is quite a mixture of zoning within this particular vicinity. There's commercial and light industrial. And this particular parcel was just recommended to rezone to light industrial as well at your meeting last month. The applicants did not submit a concept plan with the application. They identified in the application materials that the property did not have a building eligibility, and that it would make it more sellable. This is their language, sellable, if it was a change of zone to commercial. Per the staff report and the staff analysis within there, staff identified that, again, there's a mixture of uses within this property or within this vicinity of this property. Concerns should be noted going forward that if this property is rezoned, any conditional use permits would definitely have to make sure that they screen the residential property to the north and to the east and across the highway to the south. Comprehensive plan identifies this area as an urban expansion area. The city of T identifies this property as a future employment center area. So the application is in conformance with the comprehensive plan. And so staff did recommend approval in the staff analysis. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have for staff at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Commissioners, do you have any questions for staff?
So they don't have any plans to use it now?
They submitted no concept plan, correct. It appeared in the application that they intended to sell the property for commercial uses.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I'm Scott Hoffman.
Oh, Scott,
Oh.
just wait till.
Oh, yeah, we'll call you up in a second, Scott. Thank you.
Mr. Brown, is there precedence for that kind of,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Now, how are we going to, I mean, if they sell it now, the person they sell it to, are we going to make it so they have to come in to us before they open a business? Because that's just, we don't want to write them like a blank check, so to speak, and say, here you go,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, so, I mean, when we do a typical rezone like this, you have to anticipate it could be any types of uses that would come in there, but typical uses that would be future uses would require a conditional use permit. So we'd make sure that there's screening and different types of operational things. But I'll defer to the applicant to talk more about kind of what their intentions are with the property.
So if, Mr. Brown, if we sold it to someone, they use it for commercial, I mean, they could use it for storing crushed concrete or anything they wanted to with it with it being commercial.
Any use within the commercial district, yes.
but pending a conditional use permit?
If it's required, yes.
Ooh, okay.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, Mr. Hoffman, if you could talk about the application and your intentions.
Okay, we've got this 2 acres. It's, to us, it's
Mr.
just
Could
kind
you
of.
give your name and address, please?
Scott Hoffman, 1109 Southwest Sioux Falls. The land's been in, it's 5th generation land. But it's come down to the point now where there's one person living on that half section. There's 2 residential, but one's empty, vacant. I'm paying, I got reassessed and I'm now residential with ag, but I can't build on it. So my taxes go up, but I can't do anything with it. So I talked to my brother and I said, you know what? In the near future, we should get it rezoned and sell it. So I talked to Kevin over at T, and he told me, he says, the plan is in the next 15 years, they want that all commercial to the interstate. So, if we sell it tomorrow, if we sell it in 2 years, I don't know. But right now, it's just kind of sitting there and it's not worth anything to us. And it's hard to say if we do want to sell it, what are you going to sell it for? Buy a goat, put out there, I guess, I don't know. So that's why we're looking to rezone it.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Hoffman?
So how has the land been used previous to this?
It's an alfalfa weed. A guy's cutting it twice a year for his, we just let him cut it for his cattle. Otherwise, it's just sitting there.
So the building eligibilities have previously been sold off of this property?
Mm-mm. I don't think there ever was an eligibility on it.
Okay. So the fifth generation land is solely the 14 acres that are there?
Well, it was a half section at one time.
And that was sold at some point?
Yeah, slowly over the last 50, 60 years.
So the fact that the building eligibilities are gone is, I mean, that's also due to the fact that they've been sold
Yeah, probably.
by
yeah.
the family.
But everything around us right now, as you can see, is all turned into commercial. And then, I'm sorry, what?
Oh, just-
No, we'll, no, thank you.
So anyway, yeah, that's where we're at.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you much. All right, with that, I'll ask for public comment from anyone in favor of the application. All right, seeing none, I will ask anyone in opposition of the application come forward and speak. Yeah, go ahead.
Jerome Miller, my wife Robin, we own the parcel kitty corner from that 5 acres, 46989 273rd Street. We built that house 26 years ago. It was bare at that time. Matter of fact, we were the first house off the interstate on that side of the road. I've known the Huffmans for years. Our kids went to school together, and I've known them, so I mean, they're good folks and all. They lived in the house just to the north of that. There's actually residential there, and from what I can tell, like I say, because none of those homes existed from on the south side of the road to the interstate 26 years ago, and they've come in there one at a time, and they're still building them. There's a couple of them that are currently under construction. So that is a totally residential. If you go continue to the west, on the south side is residential. Or I should say homes. On the north side of the road, there's obviously a farm, the Rippentrop Farm, and they live on the home place. And of course, to the north, there's a residence. The one to the north of that burned down a while ago, but then there's a farm building there between that red sliver and the property in question. So we're surrounded by residents. I was always under the assumption that that was the idea of the zoning. You know, you keep your residential together, you got your ag together. And now they're gonna creep this industrial, light industrial really scares me, but I took the liberty of printing off the commercial districts, and there's 3 pages of options of stuff that could go in there. And I did hear Mr. Brown talk about visual barriers, you know, depending on what's gonna be there type of stuff, which would almost be as much of an eyesore as whatever would be there, I would think, in my opinion. But there's a lot of things on here that I have no issues with these things being commercial, but I do have issues, especially because this is absolutely open-ended at this point. You sell that and, you know, we don't have any idea of what it is. The fact that it is residential all the way around here and apparently in support of the zoning commission, I would like to see it, is our opinion, my wife and I's opinion, that we keep this residential. I don't have a building eligibility on my property either. I've got 2.5 acres there. You can't see our house. It's actually on the left side of that screen. There's plenty of room to build one there, but, and I knew that, like I say, that building eligibility was sold off, and when the day comes I have to move off of that property, I guess we'll have to sell it to somebody for a 5-acre estate, farm, whatever you want to call it. So anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jerome. All right, is there anybody else like to speak?
My name is Terry Mark. I'm at 47014 Terry Lane, just kitty corner across from this property here. I'm really worried about the fact like, Mr. Miller did a great job of, I think, presenting the facts to you, but I'm really also very concerned about the fact that we don't know what this would be used for. And it is residential all around us. And I just can't see taking the risk of something commercial in there that's not desirable. So, on that note, I will say that I am definitely against this rezone. If it's possible, rezone it to residential to help him out if he wants to sell it. If you can, I don't know. Or whatever, but not commercial. Thank you.
Thank you.
Residential ag, they call it, so my taxes went up,
Okay,
I can't build.
all right.
Kevin Wheeler, 47022 Terry Lane. So, I guess the taxes thing doesn't make sense because if it's rural agriculture, they're gonna be way cheaper than they would be if it's commercial. But I know you could get an eligibility, I believe Toby might be able to answer if we would rezone it to rural residential as opposed to rural agricultural. Is that correct, Toby? Because they would be 1 acre parcel sizes. I mean, if that's the case, I would definitely be interested just to help the neighborhood out because as everyone said, there's residential in the area. I'm currently built the house that Mr. Mark lives in and building the other one there that's the new split, the yellow lot that's kitty corner there. I guess like as Mr. Miller mentioned, you know, trying to have more of a definite line. I know it's a messy area there because we've got industrial and commercial. Currently, it's shops. You know, the storage units, we're already seeing problems with that. There's been individuals living in them, both units there and the ones to the south. We've been dealing with that. As we've said, the list goes on and on for commercial. It's anything from a strip mall to a strip club to fireworks to gas station and anything in the middle. So that's the big concern, you know, obviously. It's been a grassy knoll here for a while, and I guess that's what we like to keep it at or have houses. So I would say I'm opposed to commercial with not knowing what's going there, so.
Thank you, Kevin. All right. Yes, sir.
Ira Sherman, I live on Terry Lane at 47008, just across from that. Just the fact that it's open-ended, we don't know what it's gonna be. I'd much rather see it being residential. So I'm a no.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Drew Denine, 27290 470th. I'm the lot right to the north of them.
Okay.
Actually, I bought that from Ed Hoffman, one of the applicants, 2 years ago. I guess our major concern is there's a low spot in there of drainage, and on the wet years, it really backs up onto our property as well. I'm concerned with anything changing that might affect that. Also, as somebody else mentioned, there's been a lot of crime associated. The guy just to the east of me had somebody camp. He doesn't live there permanently. He had a guy camping out there for a couple of weeks and robbed him blind. That's, I don't know, you can't really prevent that, but I do have something else to say, not the lot right north of me that you just rezoned, but the lot north of that Ed and Scott sold that to Double H Paving. They're currently in zoning violation, I'm fully aware of. I haven't had a chance to file a complaint yet, but they are piling concrete there, grinding concrete there. All that dust floats onto my property. It's all over the place. The semi trucks are constantly rolling down the gravel road. The road conditions have just deteriorated in the last year. It's horrible. Just not a big fan of it. I don't think we need to have commercial and industrial mixed in around houses that have been there for 40 plus years. So as of right now, I'm a no.
Thank you, Drew.
My name's Kerry Kloiber. I live at 47002 right across from it, kind of the same thing. I can't say anything more that everybody else hasn't already said, but without knowing what commercial is gonna go in there, our worst nightmare is comes a gas station open 24 hours, big lights, and takes away our whole country living type atmosphere, so just wanted to voice it as a no.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone else that'd like to speak on the application? Okay, with that, I'll close the floor to public input, and I'll ask a motion from the commissioners.
Purely for discussion's sake, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to vote to deny it.
Okay. We have a-
That's not a motion.
Our motion to deny, excuse me. Just to get it to, for discussion.
Typically, we will, we'd move to approve and then vote it down if that's the way it goes. But there's nothing against denying it either. So, yeah, we have a motion.
Well, just for parliamentary sakes, we can discuss it. I'll second the motion. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. All right, discussion. Ms. Hogan?
With all the concerns, I just have a question then for the applicant. If there is a chance to, and I'm not sure, I would need to.
Mr. Hoffman, could you
if you
come up
could
to the
come
podium?
up. And we need to check with Toby. If your concern is losing money and if you want to sell it, if we could rezone it to a residential instead of commercial, would you be willing to do that?
I would take a look at that, yeah.
Toby, is that a possibility?
If I could get maybe two eligibilities on it.
Yeah, if we went to a rural residential, you could get two different plats or whatever on that, yeah.
So let me ask you a question. Do you guys still override T?
Excuse me?
Do you override T's planning and zoning overall?
We
believe
consult
in-
with them.
Okay. Because I know he was a little against the residential thing happening. So I didn't know. But yeah, I'm for it. If we can do that, that's fine. At least I got something I'm paying for.
Nope,
And
understood.
Toby, that's a possibility, right?
Yeah, like he mentioned, it would be against the City of T's long-range plans. But I guess if that's an option, maybe what we should do is table and just redo it next month, if that's the request that he would like to modify it to.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we table this agenda item until there's a definite plan in place, either for commercial or a residential.
Do we have to vote on the first motion before the second motion? We can go straight to the table if we want.
I assume he's making a substitute motion that you would vote on first. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Because then we can maybe can we speak with the City of T and then see if we can work that out? That way, everybody's happy, the applicant can be happy, the folks can be happy, and we can all kind of be happy, work together, and everybody's happy.
So, one other comment I wanted to make too, to jump in here, is that whenever we rezone property, it's not contingent. Meaning that we could rezone it to, someone says they have a concept plan to do storage units on this property. There's nothing that holds them to those storage units on the property, because we don't ever put conditions. So to better answer your question, does this happen? It happens every time we rezone. Because what they show us as a concept plan isn't required when they go to the development stages of it. And so, but I understand where the public is, and I understand where the board is that they're, this is unique, that we don't even have a concept for what is being proposed for this.
I think that's what the problem is with me. If there's not even a plan out there, I just have a hard time with approving something when we don't even know what's going to be there.
Any other, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
To table?
To table.
I'll second it.
All right. Additional comments? Yeah, no, I
think more specifics would be great
Okay.
for the board.
No, I have concerns too. I'm a neighbor. I own that barn property to the north there. So, yeah, all right, we have a motion second. I'll do a roll call. Commissioner Instead,
Yes.
Commissioner Hogan,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
and Commissioner Jerry's a yes. So we'll see what comes up next month. All right, Mr. Brown, we can talk to, you can talk to Toby on your way out. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, just call me in the morning. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, no, not sensitive. This next item is an application or a request from Bruce Show and Derek Rondow for a conditional easement for motor vehicle sales and motor vehicle repair. Subject property is approximately, and I tried to measure this, but I think it's approximately 30 feet to the city limits of T, which is directly to the west of this property. Parcel size is pretty small. It's 0.40 acres in size. The applicant did submit with the application anticipated site plan for the layout. And I'll let the applicant kind of talk a little bit more about this property. Per the staff analysis in the staff report, staff identified that there's similar type uses to this in the area. Again, a little concerned that the size of the property is not real large for the operation of it, but staff does recommend approval with the conditions that were listed in the staff report. And again, with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have for staff at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Commissioners, do you have any questions for staff? Seeing none, okay. I'll ask the applicant to come forward and tell us a little bit more about the application.
I'm Bruce Shavy. I live in Harrisburg, 107 Perry Lane. And I've been doing selling cars since 1971. The property I'm on right now, the gentleman passed away, and I need a place to go to. Just want someplace we could work on some cars, sell a few cars, where it's not gonna be no big operation. It's just something to do. I've talked to Jim, and we wanna try to buy the place from him, and trying to get a contract with him. And, that's about what I can tell you. It's gonna be for car sales and some repair. We're not junking out no cars there. So, I mean, and on the north side of the building, our plans are stuff that we're gonna fix or whatever. We wanna put that to the north side of the building and make a fence around it to hide it, you know? Basically, that's about it, you know?
Okay. Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions?
Where are you currently at?
I'm over the Bucks North Junction building way in the back. Don Seabrook passed away in November, and they're gonna sell the property. Right now, they got like a $500,000 offer on the property. And the family is talking $750,000. He sold his land in Sioux Falls where the Vera Hospital is at. So there's no problem for money for that family.
So if you've been, I mean, you've done this for a long time with no complaints and no,
Yeah, I used to have a car lot right in T. I had BJ Motors. I
and,
sold the city a lot of equipment.
sure. How many cars do you think you'd have on site at one time?
Probably maybe 10, 15. I mean, it's just fix something up and sell it again, you know?
Which is what your current business is right now. It's
Yeah.
no change. to
Well,
the-
yeah, and I buy cars for a dealership in Pierce, South Dakota. I ship a lot of cars out there. Sometimes I got 10 cars of his sitting there waiting to get transported. We fix them up for him and ship them. It's like $300 or $400 just for buying them for him.
So you would have like semis coming in or transport trucks coming in to get them? Is that
No.
what you do?
We take them down to the auto auction.
Oh, right there.
Yeah.
In T.
Yeah, take them over to the auto
Okay.
auction and ship them because it's too hard for these semis to get around.
Okay. And you've seen all these conditions and you're okay with all the conditions put on
I
there?
haven't, I can't read it.
Condition number 3 says no motor vehicles in disrepair or waiting to be repaired shall be stored outside.
Okay, that's why I wanna put the fence in the back corner so we can hide anything that needs to be fixed. That's what my goal is anyway.
Mr. Brown, that is, condition number 3 means nothing outside, correct? No disrepair, even if it's in a fence?
Correct. We did, I guess we did post signs on this property and noticed that there's quite a bit of materials already on the site. So I don't know if it's his materials or the current tenant's materials.
They're not mine.
Okay.
The
You know,
semis will be all gone.
the concern is that this is a motor vehicle sales and repair, not, salvage operation type of
Right.
thing. So these are the conditions that we've been placing on all motor vehicle sales and motor vehicle repair.
All right. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant?
Is the third condition something that your business can do? Can you store anything waiting to be repaired, can that be stored inside?
I guess we could try to make room, but like I said, it worked a lot better if we could use that fence that in the back so people can't see it. You know, put a fence up there with they got that, the height and stuff.
Well, I guess the board could modify that condition. What we typically say is, unscreened, and it has to be opaque.
So when you say these cars are getting repaired, what are you waiting on for these cars? Is it, motors? Is it body work? What kind of work are you doing for these so they'll sit there for a
Well,
while?
sometimes I might have to put a hood on it or we're waiting to, put a motor in. We buy a lot of stuff that needs motors
Sure.
because that's where you can make your money.
Which I think in most people's mind is, then you have at least a car that's sitting there, you don't have something that's, I think what you're asking is it something that's wrecked, waiting to be fixed, or is it something that's a car that needs?
Yeah, I mean,
Parts.
it's gonna be stuff that it's fixable and will be fixed.
Mhm.
That's what, how cars are, you buy something that needs I don't want cars all dismantled, cause that's an eyesore.
Right.
And in the neighborhood, right there, you'll see, there's all kinds of that sitting there.
All right.
I hope I
Commissioners, any
answered all
further
your-
questions
I
for?
thank you guys very much for your time.
Thank you. All right, at this time, I'd like to speak with anyone that's in favor of the application. Yes, sir.
I'm Jim Coburn. I own the property. I live at 400 Troy Avenue in Harrisburg. When I bought this facility, it was used as a truck, as a semi-tractor shop and trailer shop, and I ran a freight company out of there in the 80s and 90s. And then after that, why, it basically turned into storage along the north side of the building, what Bruce mentioned there, where they're wanting to fence off. I had some semi-trailers there that we stored products in. And we've pulled them out there now to clean them all up and dispose of all that stuff, so we gotta clean up that lot, so. But I think this would be an excellent use of that property, I really do. You know, it's along that main thoroughfare by there, it's got a nice traffic, and it's gonna be really kind of appealing, I think, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Is there anyone else that's like to speak in favor of the application?
My name is Dale Arrett, and my wife Joyce, and we have property at 27119 Grumman Avenue, which is right around the corner from where Jim Coburn has his property. The property has been a junkyard for 15 years at least, and his plans is to clean it up, clean all the junk out of it. And there's a lot of junk that he has to get rid of. I don't know how long he's gonna wanna get rid of it, or how long it's gonna take to get rid of it, but it's gonna be a while. And I really have no objections to having something like that if it does not involve junk. And we have looked at junk. I own the property for 25 years, around the corner from him. And I drive by to get in, the road is Airport Place, going into the airport. And I have we have property right around the corner. And I have rental garages there and a shop. I was in business for 32 years, and I run my business out of there. And I'm a very clean person. I've never had any junk laying around. But if he could prove to me that the lot will be cleaned up, and no, I wouldn't like to see cars. There is an area in the back of the building that could be fenced in, and cars could be stored in there, but for how long and how much junk are they gonna be? Now, right down Airport Place Road, we have the salvage, car salvage place that has at least 25 wrecked cars sitting there. And we have to look at all that. And I don't know whether they ever got a permit to have a salvage yard there or not, but, and then right around the corner, there's another junkyard that the guy that has the salvagey cars, repairing the cars and selling them, has taken over another lot just around the corner, and he's got 25, 30 wrecked cars there. So I hate to see another junkyard in the area, because it's becoming a junkyard. And I have no problem. My property is not anywhere affecting that corner, Jim Coburn's corner. But I would hate to see that for 25 years, we have looked at a lot of junk on Jim Coburn's. We've tried to get him to clean it, and I like the idea that he finally has decided to sell the property. And as he said, at one time it was a tractor trailer, and they even had sold gas in that building. It's not a large building, so there can't be, there wouldn't be much room for a lot of repair. if the cars that sit out in front of the building that were for sale and they're not junk, I could approve the application. And I would hope that this would not happen. But like I said, it really doesn't affect my place, my business. I'm no longer in business there, but I still have rental garages and my shop. And I don't have any junk laying around. And I would hate to see that that lot, it's not a big lot. And I would hate to see, if they're nice cars, I could see them parked out in front of the building for sale. But I don't want no junk. I couldn't, like I said, I've seen junk for 25 years, and I'm glad that Jim is looking at selling it. He's got a big job ahead of him. I don't know, from what I could say, see, it's gonna take him at least a year. Could be a year before the lot is cleaned up. And I've talked to a couple of the other people that are in that same neighborhood, and they said that wouldn't affect them. It wouldn't bother them. The J&L automotive place right across the street from where I have my shop, he said it would not affect anything that he's involved in. But if you go out and see the area and see all the junk that we're dealing with, and that's not really a covenants in that area, I don't think are set up for what's being used for that area now. But,
Thank you, Dale.
yeah. My wife would have to agree.
Yes, I would.
All right. Anyone else like speak in favor of the application? All right, seeing that, anyone in opposition of the application? Seeing none. All right, I'll close the floor to public comment, and I'll ask for a motion from the commission.
I would move to approve the permit with the conditions.
Are we going to, did you want to change number 3 to do an opaque screening, or leave it to no outside?
I think we should just leave it.
Okay. You want a second? No. Well, okay, for discussion, I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Who wants to go first?
What's up, Colin?
Well, I think it goes back to that number 3, where if you got cars sitting outside that need motors, and if they're gonna sit there for any length of time, and I know that they're not wrecked cars, they're not torn apart, they're just sitting there waiting, and then if they end up sitting there for a year, 2 years, I guess I've driven by, your current location, and, it looks fine, but what this says here is that you can't have anything outside. So that's the only hang up I have, was having anything that needs repair, unless Toby can, help me with the definition of needs repair. If it needs a motor and it's sitting there and it's just a car has no damage to it, it's just sitting there, doesn't, the normal person driving by isn't gonna know that it needs repair.
So, when we receive an application that they talk about more vehicle sales, we don't anticipate that these are gonna be major repair operations. It would be in, secondary to really what they're trying to do on that property. The lot's not that big at all. I mean, there won't be any room for sales if they're, have all this vehicle stored for repair, I guess. I'd recommend, that probably what you do is approve as is, and then we'll see down the road if we have concerns or issues that we'll bring it back to you to review it. But I think it, even to fence that property where they're proposing to have it fenced, I mean, it will still be visible from some of those surrounding properties, what they're trying to do, so.
So Bruce, you are going to put up a fence.
Yeah, in that back corner, you won't.
Bruce, could you come up, please? Thank you.
Yeah, we'll put up a fence in that back corner. You won't, you shouldn't see it from the highway when you go by it. And behind you, you got buildings behind you, but we have to put a fence in for security. Cause you got too many people crawling around with saws at night stealing converters. We wanna put some security up around there.
Is that what you call in the hold lot?
Yeah, it'd be like a whole lot.
Okay.
But would put those, I think I can't remember what they call them. You put them in
Little
them.
slats?
Slats,
Okay.
yeah. We'll put slats in there and a high enough fence so people can't crawl over it either. So that should be, and that'll be where the stuff that, let's say it needs a motor, that's where that's gonna go. Cause you gotta have the stuff out front that'll sell.
So I think Colin's concern is are you gonna have a car sitting out front that's missing a complete front end?
Shouldn't have.
No, shouldn't have, or are you?
I won't have.
Okay.
I mean, it's, if I got one, it'll go back in the holding area. If it needs front fenders or whatever. I buy a lot of stuff from Wheel City. I bought one the other day. The guy was driving down the road and the hood blew up, took the windshield out.
Yeah.
And I bought another one the other day, 2012 Jeep. Cracked the head in it. 110,000 miles on a Jeep Compass. $350. $7,000 truck. It's just, there's stuff out there. I got a couple mechanics I use. I got one that comes in and helps me. He's from Billion GMC. I got another one from Subaru. So they're pretty fast. I'm gonna put a hoist in the shop.
I think
So-
that's the concern, is we don't want cars sitting out front that's
Right.
missing the whole back end or the whole front end, or,
I understand.
That's the concern,
Yep.
and I'm sure the neighbors would
Yeah,
appreciate not seeing that
Yeah,
either.
it's looks like a junker.
Exactly.
Yep, I understand.
We don't wanna look like Barney's down the road. So,
Yeah.
yes, okay.
But I've been doing it for years and I'm gonna try it, somebody's got a complaint, come and tell me.
Okay.
So,
All right.
So if,
Hold on, Dale. Thank you.
to make it simple, if you have concerns about that number 3, just say stored outside of a fenced area.
Yep. Colin, do you want to make the amendment to number 3?
I would, yes, I would,
Note,
yeah, stored outside of the fenced area, is add that to the third condition.
Commissioner Johnson, are you okay with that?
I guess, what is you want to amend, I guess when I didn't amend it, when we said it, I thought it was more stringent to leave it as is. So you're wanting to give him a little leeway?
Yes.
Okay.
To say if he has a vehicle that needs repaired, that if he puts up the fencing with the screening, that that would allow him to do that.
And that would be in what he calls his hold lot or
Yes.
anywhere? Yeah, okay.
That whole lot will be all fenced in.
So the only thing that can be outside is displayed.
So complete cars outside, anything in repair status of any kind could be indoors or in the hold lot.
Right.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. We can add that in.
Okay, so we have a motion second with the conditions as they are, except for number 3. And number 3 will read, vehicle in disrepair or waiting shall be stored inside, shall be stored inside of the fenced area or the building, something like that.
And Bruce, if I'm correct, the hold area is not visible to the public.
Right.
Yeah.
You'll probably have a bobbler across the top.
Those catalytic converters they're tempting to some people.
Okay, any further discussion? Sorry, Dale, you had your turn, sorry. Unless someone has a question for Dale. All right, we have a motion second. No further discussion? You good?
No, we're good.
Okay. I'll take roll call. Commissioner Instead,
Yes.
Commissioner Hogan,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
and I'll say yes. Congratulations, good luck. All right, Mr. Brown.
Okay, this next item is an application from Casey Willem for conditional use permit to exceed 1,500 square feet of total accessory building area. Applicant is requesting 1,920 square feet in size. Subject property is about a half a mile south of the city of T corporate limits. Parcel size is 2 acres in size. And the site plan that was submitted with the application identifies that the accessory building will be placed to the rear of the house, just to the south of the county highway that goes from here. The application, as noted in the staff analysis and the staff report, that there is other structures in the vicinity. And so staff does recommend approval of this application, subject to the conditions that were listed in the staff report. We did have an email from a neighbor in the area, Gary Miller, did not have any objections to the application at this time. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have for staff.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Brown?
No.
No? All right, thank you. I'd like to ask the applicant come forward and talk about their application.
All right, Casey Wallum, currently at 2303 North Main in T. We recently bought the property, and we're just looking up, putting up a post frame building out back to store our boat and a few of our other toys and lawnmowers, just to keep them out, and keep them inside. It's slightly bigger than the 1,500 square feet. We just needed a little bit more room, and we're putting a wraparound porch on it to dress it up. Actually, I own Custom Structures of South Dakota. We do these for a living, so it's not going to be a shabby looking building for sure. It's going to be kind of a showpiece for what we do right along the highway. So other than that, that's all I really have to say about it. So I have plans for a future office inside my personal office, and then a bathroom will go in it someday, but that's future plans for it. So right now we're just looking at getting the building up. So that's the basis of it. So
What did you
Thank
say?
you.
Where did
Yep.
you say you work for? I'm sorry.
I own Custom Structures of South Dakota. We build post frame buildings for a living. So this type of building is what we do.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Casey.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, I'll ask anyone come up in favor of the application. Seeing none. All right, anyone in opposition of the application.
Yes, I'm Myron Roth. I live at 27306 Atkins Place, and I got notice of this. I myself think the building is a little bit too large for a residential area. It's bigger than any of the houses, or almost all the houses that are out there, so I think it'll be, not say an eyesore, but not fit in with a residential area. And one other thing I would stress is, I am curious if there is any type of business being run out of this building. I notice on the side of his house, he has a skid steer on a fifth wheel trailer, in a dually truck. Is there any type of business that is going to be run out of this? Because it is a residential area. So I guess I'm not in favor of it for the size and the possibility of a business. And just wanted to make that known. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Myron. All right, anyone else like to speak in opposition of the application? Seeing none, I will close the floor to public comment, and I'll ask for a motion from the commission.
Can we just, Casey, can you come back up here for a moment, please? Do you have a current office for your business?
We don't currently, no.
So where do you run your business out of?
We don't. We haven't, I've been in business about 8 years. We've never had an office. All my salesmen work from home. All my crew meets at a foreman's house in the morning. So we don't have a.
You don't have a formal office?
And right now, the construction equipment I have parked out front, we're currently remodeling the house. So new windows, new siding, which I have a permit for everything. So we're redoing some landscaping outside. That's why my skid loader is currently there, parked on the trailer. I have a dump trailer out front because we're tearing out kitchen and a whole bunch of other things. So we're making the property nicer in general, the outside, inside, both.
Okay.
So that's why it probably looks like there's extra stuff there currently, but that's not where that stuff stays in general. I actually rent, 3 spots up by, from Brusky Storage, right up the road where I keep my trailers parked. So they're not at my personal residence. We just sold our house in T, and we've never had stuff at our house in T. The whole reason I want to put up a building, because our personal stuff that we're going to keep there, I want it inside because we're going to keep our property nice looking. So no, I will have my personal office where I do some of my design work inside that building, but we don't have customers come to our location. When they call us to come bid a project, we come to you because we want to see your property and that type of stuff. So we don't have customers come to us anyways.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that's clear for this gentleman.
Yep.
That's all. Okay.
Yep, no, there's no plan for business at our location. No, it's our personal residence, so.
And the conditions that are on here, you're okay with? Did you see the conditions? Did you read them?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
Yep.
and you're okay with them all?
Yes.
Perfect, okay.
And Casey,
Yeah.
one other question, in just relative to your house, like how tall of a building are you
The
building?
plan is to be 16-foot sidewalls. I know in our homeowners association, they just told me, I didn't realize that I had to have it approved by them too, so they are working on getting it approved also. And it says in our homeowners association, it can't be taller than my house, and the roof peak will not be taller than any part of my house.
Perfect.
So, and I know I've had a couple of my neighbors come ask about the square footage, because it shows that it's 2,200 and something. Well, it's also counting the porch that's outside, so the building itself is 40 by 48. So, and if you drive in our development, there's other buildings of that size or bigger. So, I'm not looking at putting up a huge facility. I just want to put the stuff that I invested my money in inside. So.
I stopped over your house the other day, Casey, you weren't home. There was 2 dogs running around. I picked them up in the back of my truck, and I saw that guy doing your remodel, so I thought it was maybe you, so I stopped in, and he goes, "Nope, I don't live here." So.
Oh, yeah, I don't know whose dogs, because they weren't mine.
No, I found them. But yeah,
Okay.
I was at your house, so I know there's construction going on.
Yes.
You're doing some remodel.
Yep, we're just getting ready to put windows in next week, so, when we bought the property, we knew it needed a little bit of work. We were gonna wait a year to put windows in, and our first rainstorm, we had a pool of water in our living room.
So I guess you weren't waiting.
Windows are coming right away, so,
Okay,
so,
Thank you.
perfect.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, commissioners, can I ask for a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve of the conditions.
I'll second.
All right, motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none? All right, do roll call. Commissioner Instead,
Yes.
Commissioner Hogan,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
and Commissioner Jungley's a yes. Congratulations. Good luck. All right, Mr. Brown.
Okay, this next item is an application for a conditional use meant to exceed 1,500 square feet of total accessory building area. The applicant is Matt Brown. Location is 48225 Hiawatha Place. This property is approximately a mile to the northeast of the city of Canton. Subject property is, as you can see, has been replatted into 2 lots. The applicant lives on the parcel to the north, and so the property to the south was a separate lot, but that's been replatted into 1 lot, which allows then the accessory building to be built onto the property. Property is within the Hiawatha Hills subdivision area. Parcel size is combined parcel size now is approximately 3 acres in size. The applicant does have an existing accessory building on the parcel the former parcel that had the house on it. So they're requesting approximately 1,440 square feet for a total of 1,920 square feet on the property. Staff did, and as part of the staff analysis, did take a look at the surrounding properties and other uses in the property. Staff does recommend approval of this application if approved, with conditions that are recommended in the staff analysis or staff report. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have for staff at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Commissioners, do you have any questions for staff? All right, seeing no questions, thank you. I'd like to ask the applicant to come forward and tell a little bit about your application.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name's Matt Brown, 48225 North Hiawatha. Maybe a little bit of history on the replat, if it's helpful. Bought the property that we own with the house. My wife and I bought that in 2018, and with that had a purchase option on the lot to the south. Executed that purchase option in 2019, so then owned the lot. At that time, built the first accessory building on the lot that the house is on. That was built in 2019, and 20 by 24, with just the intention of, storage for lawnmower, snow blowers, just stuff that you need when you're living on a little bit mini acreage. So then through subsequent investigation and wanting to put up this second shop, discovered that, the only real way to do that would be to first replot and then apply for the conditional use permit. So that's what led to the replat, which happened in April-ish, I think. Approached the Homeowners Association for Hiawatha Hills. They reviewed the plans, approved it. It should be in their minutes. Talked to, a number of the neighbors as well, even before submitting this application. And at least at that point, no verbal concerns. So use of the structure would be just personal storage and workshop. I have a couple old truck projects I'd like to work on. Nothing stored outside. It'll be, all enclosed, fit and finish. Will match the house, shingle drift siding, 1 overhead door, 14-foot side walls, concrete floor, concrete driveway. And I think that's all I can think of right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Matt?
Actually, where would the driveway go to this new building? Is that right off of Hiawatha?
Yes, to the kind of east.
Okay. All right.
Okay, thank you, Matt, appreciate it. All right. At this time, I'd ask anyone in favor of the application to come forward. Anyone in opposition of the application, please come forward. All right, seeing none, I'll close the floor to public input, and I'll ask a motion of the commission.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve with the conditions.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, I'll do a roll call. Commissioner Ensted,
Yes.
Commissioner Hogan,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
and Commissioner Jungling's a yes. Congratulations, Matt. Good luck. All right, Mr. Brown.
Okay, this next application is a conditional use but to allow a public utility facility on the subject property. Specifically, this would be a site or facility for the Northern Natural Gas Company. The location of this property is approximately a little over 5 miles to the northeast of the city of Beersford, which is to the south of here. The applicant is proposing to do a perpetual lease on the property, and it's a little under an acre in size for that. And then they would then improve the property with various types of equipment that are associated with the Northern Natural Gas Pipeline. So they call it pipeline facility, if I can get that spit it out correctly. But the nearest residence to this property is just to the north and to the east of this property, about 1,600 feet away from this subject application. And then all other residential. There is quite a bit of scattered rural residential around this area, but no closer than 1,600 feet to the property. Staff did review the application on the staff report. Identified that again, that there is some scattered residential in this area, but the nearest would be 1,600 feet to the northeast of it. As well as part of the analysis, we looked at some conditions that we could add to it. Want to make sure that the property is maintained clean and orderly. And then also the discussion that there's proposed perimeter security fence around the property. And probably some discussion, did not do that with the applicant, but kind of came up afterwards, is there any other additional visual screening that we could do the facility? We did have another one of these facilities this year that was up near the city of Harrisburg. On that particular proposal, I believe that they're going to do the slatted fences on it, which would provide some visual screen to it. But I didn't get a chance to talk to the applicants representative about that. So that might be something that'll come up during your discussion with the applicant. But again, staff does recommend approval of this application, subject to the conditions in the staff report. With that, we'd be happy to answer any questions that you have for staff.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Commissioners, do you have any questions for staff?
The other property that you did a similar approval with, was that with this same company?
That I don't remember, I guess. I believe it was, because they're doing a major gas line improvement throughout the county. So I think that was, I'm trying to remember if that facility was or not, but I don't recall for sure. But
I know they have a big presence in Harrisburg.
yeah.
I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah, I think it was, but it was a different representative, I guess. So we usually work with the applicant representative, and I think that was a different person on that project, so.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, we're good. I'd like to ask the applicant to come forward and talk about the application, please.
Amity Keller, agent for Northern Natural Gas Company.
Joel Glantz, Northern Natural Gas, 16270 Riggs, Omaha.
Hi.
This is a conditional use permit application for a pipeline facility for Northern's A-line replacement pipeline. Yes, we had the same CUP for the Harrisburg project, just different representative at that time. So we understand that you're wanting to do the aesthetically pleasing fencing around the property, and we're open to that. We just need to know what y'all would require. So we've already had discussions with Northern on that.
Thank you.
All right, the facility will be on a 120 by 150 lot. It will be receipt and delivery facility for biogas with DTE East Dakotas. There will be a 6-foot security fence around the perimeter, 3 barbed wire on the top. It will be locked with access by Northern staff and DTE staff to get to their equipment. There'll be a 40 by 60-foot driveway leading into the facility from 291st. There'll be 3 buildings on the site, a 8 by 16 gas measurement and analysis building, a 12 by 16 receipt that consists of providing protection for control valves and measurement equipment, and there'll be a 12 by 20-foot delivery station with the same similar control valves, measurement equipment, and protection equipment in there. They will be steel corrugated buildings, permanent structure, blue in color, all-weather buildings that we place on all of our facilities. The ground will be crushed rock. We will maintain that on an annual basis, spray for weeds, make sure that it remains weed-free.
Where is the pipeline currently? Is that within the
See the red
ditch?
lines going north and south?
Oh, yep, okay.
Yep. Correct. We will be tapping into the eastmost line and bringing that into our facility. That'll be the point of transition from the facility onto our pipeline.
Sure.
How many trucks do you anticipate coming through there?
There's no trucks.
Okay.
This will be a pipeline from their facility.
Okay.
Approximately 8 miles to the west. And they will bring it in on the west side of our site, and we'll hook up with them
Okay.
there and transfer and deliver gas at those points.
I'm just curious, now that really matters, but how big of a line is that? How big of a pipe is that?
Coming in?
Yeah.
4-inch line.
Okay.
So this is basically like the same project that's going out in Harrisburg, correct?
I'm not sure the one in,
Is there,
Is
It
that
is
the-
A-line replacement. yes.
okay,
yeah,
yes.
it's the same, that's what I was thinking, yeah, okay.
The old A-line, 1930s vintage, it is not up to current standards. So we're replacing that with a new line, 25 feet to the west. The dotted line will be the new line, and we will just move our tap from there over to the new one. Facility won't change.
Okay.
Sure. All right, any additional questions, commissioners?
No.
Thank you much. All right, at this time, I'd like to, anyone come forward to speak in favor of the application? All right, anyone like speak in opposition of the application? All right, see none. I'll close the floor to public input, and I'll ask for a motion from the commission.
I'll make a motion to approve with the conditions.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second with conditions. Any further discussion? No discussion? All right, I'll ask for a motion. Or wait, we already did that. I'm going to say names now. Commissioner Ensted,
Yes.
Commissioner Hogan,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
and Commissioner Jungling's a yes. Congratulations, good luck. All right, Mr. Brown.
I didn't want to be the only one talking tonight.
Okay, this is the last item. It's an application for a conditional use to allow motor vehicle sales on the subject property. The applicant is Anthony Murdoch. This property is currently, it's a multi-unit building that this year, I think maybe a couple meetings ago, actually, as the board clarified this building as a contractor shop. It was originally constructed as a warehouse building over 20,000 square feet. And so the applicant's proposing to utilize one of the units, unit number 8 specifically in the building, for motor vehicle sales. As noted in the staff analysis is that, again, that within probably the last couple months or so, I believe that you issued a conditional use permit just for contractor shops for this building. And we did put a condition on there, you did put a condition on there that says that it would just only be used for contractor shops. So I didn't mean to be wishy-washy in the staff recommendation, but essentially, I stated that, staff has concerns that was the condition that was placed on that conditional use permit that was just approved for the contractor shops. And so had concerns that this would be going beyond what essentially the contractor shops are. And not to say that you can't approve that, it would be permissible to do so, but it would clarify again, though, that there's other uses that would be allowed then within that building if they receive a conditional use permit. There are other properties in this area that do similar types of uses. Again, since this property is zoned I-1 light industrial, those conditional use permits in the C commercial district are allowable. So, other properties that are within the vicinity of this could be utilized for the same type of use. It was unclear a little bit in the application, but it appears that this would be kind of a specialty type car sales business. So it doesn't appear that there would be a lot, or if any cars outside, that everything would be inside. So it would fit somewhat with the contractor shops, which is the intention, is to have everything stored inside the buildings, nothing outside the buildings. So staff will give you a maybe on this one for the board to kind of walk through essentially some of their concerns with the applicant and kind of discuss with the applicant some of the concerns that they had with the original use of this. The concerns the additional concern of staff is that that if the building or the unit would be utilized for something other than car sales, such as auto repairs, all of a sudden paint booths and things like that. These buildings aren't built for that, safety-wise or structural-wise. And so, again, we always have concerns that we start allowing this type of use here, and does it start changing the use of the outside of the area of the building and the vicinity of the area? As we've seen tonight, we have issues with car repair businesses that turn into scrap yards and different types of things like that. And so, the original request was from the owner at that time, a couple months ago, was to say this is all contractor shops. They did sign off on this application, but just wanted to bring that to your attention. So if you do approve it tonight, we do recommend those conditions associated with that. With that, we have to answer any questions that you have for staff.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Brown?
And we approved, I don't know if I was on the board then, was it light industrial for these contractor shops, right?
I believe that property was rezoned light industrial before any of us. I think it was 2008 was when it was originally rezoned to that. The building was constructed, I believe, within the last 2 years. And that was approved for a warehouse building over 20,000 square feet. Then through some compliance things, we found that there was contractor shops, which is a separate use from the oversized building. So we, within the last couple months, you did allow for all units to be allowed for contractor shops. And now this was the first one that we have that's requesting it to change from a contractor shop to essentially motor vehicle sales. But from our understanding is that it sounds like most of the sales would be internal, nothing outside, and different types of things like that. So it should fit in with the contractor shops. It's just a concern that we start switching these buildings to other types of uses in the vicinity.
Is this just for the one unit, or is it entire building?
Just the one unit, unit number 8.
Okay. Oh, yep, there it is. I thought I saw that. All right, Commissioners, any additional questions for Mr. Brown?
this was the site plan that was submitted through the application, so there's multiple doors. You're not seeing it from this screenshot, but this side of the building, I believe, is the applicant was gonna, it's essentially just an open space. I believe he was gonna finish off some of that, but that's part of then what would be part of this business, would be occupying that. And this would be on the north side of the building, of that building.
All right, if there's no questions for Mr. Brown, I'll ask the applicant come forward and talk about your application, please.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Murdoch, 47591 Neener Circle, Sioux Falls. And he is correct. Let me start with the conditions. The conditions are actually great. I'll start off by saying that I have zero intention of ever having anything outside. He's correct that everything that I'm doing is going to be internal. Actually, motor vehicle sales is secondary. It's actually tertiary to what I'm doing. What I actually do, I've heard a lot about junkyards this evening. I run a specialty, you can call it kind of like a boutique shop. I actually work with Mazdas and Mazda Speeds, and I will either rebuild them or basically part them out or redesign them, turn them from front-wheel drive to all-wheel drive, platform modifications. But when I do that, it's one vehicle at a time. It's not like vehicles are waiting outside for processing. Anything that I do have waiting for processing is stored off-site. I actually have very large storage units that can't be used for this purpose. They're just storage, and they're inside. So I take these vehicles one at a time, bring them in, process them, or two at a time for, inside. But it's not, there's not vehicles that are gonna be sitting outside, even for sale. The reason why sales comes in is, first of all, I buy a lot of these vehicles at insurance auctions, either for parting out or fixing or selling, but it's very difficult and it's much more expensive if you don't have a dealer's license. So that's one part. Second, the state of South Dakota, there's an issue with titling, and if you do not have a dealer's license, it takes 6 to 8 weeks to get a title back. If you have a dealer's license, it comes much faster. It takes me a week to, if I actually am gonna part a vehicle out, it takes a week, maybe 2. So I have these vehicles that are sitting around, whether they're inside or outside or wherever, fully dismantled. I can't do anything with the body. So that's another reason for that. Third, I'll probably sell 10, 12 cars a year. I mean, selling vehicles is not my main, like what I'm doing with my business. It's part of it. It actually brings in a good chunk of money that keeps the rest of the operations going, but it's not the number one thing I'm doing. I actually sell a lot of the parts, but then I take the parts from vehicles that I have parted out, use them for the rebuilds, use them for fixing up the other vehicles. These vehicles are actually pretty finicky. It's hard to get parts for them. But like I said, I can take down a vehicle in less than a week, 2 if I'm being very leisurely. So when I do bring vehicles in, I bring them in on a trailer. I have a specialized trailer. I have some mobility issues, so I actually have an internal dolly system. For vehicles that don't run, I load them right into the door, put them on a dolly system. I can move them around inside very easily. So it's not like vehicles aren't going to be stored outside. Equipment's not going to be stored outside. I already have arrangements for commercial garbage. So it's already been pretty well arranged in advance for what I'm going to be doing for that. So, and I actually didn't even know anything about the previous conditional, like the contractors' shops or anything. Like this is the first time I've actually hearing about any of that. So, but like I said, everything's going to be internal. So, and I know in the application in the letter, I said I might have up to 5 employees. Like that's overshooting it. So, I mean, I probably will have 1 to 2 at the most, besides me. So, I mean, this is a small operation. This is, I mean, the majority of my income comes from VA disability. I'm 100% disabled vet, and this is something that just keeps me going. It was a hobby that I've kind of turned into a small boutique business because there's a demand for it. So.
So you said what, is this Mazda specific cars that
It's
you?
Mazda specific, Mazda Speeds. There's Mazda Speed 3, Mazda Speed 6 from 2006 to 2013. There's a pretty good, surprisingly large following for them.
In the Midwest here?
So, actually, all over the country. So I go all over the country to get the cars. I prefer getting them from the south because they have an issue with rust, but I can go down and get a car, come back, process it. So the good parts, and this specific property here has more storage, so I could store parts that I need or parts that can be sold. Everything that I do, my sales are all targeted. I don't have any walk-in service at all. So it's either online or, word of mouth, or, I'm in a lot of Mazda groups or anything like that. People know who I am. I'm starting to get my business out there. So there's not going to be any walk-in, business. So the only reason I'll have signs up is because it's required by, like the dealer licensing and other regulations. So other than that, I don't have a need for that, but I'm not going to have people coming in and out. So.
And part of the need for this is to get your dealer's licensing.
Honestly, that's the only reason. So it's not like I'm not going to have a large vehicle sales operation. I might rebuild a few for sale. I've had people ask for that before, and then every once in a while, I've been rebuilding cars since I was much younger. Everybody in my family drives a car that I rebuild for them. I've had friends and family ask for cars, and in South Dakota, you can only sell 4 cars a year before you need a license. So if I'm doing 10 cars a year, that's pretty overshooting it too. But if you go over 4, then Pierre gets mad. So it's not, this isn't going to be a big operation especially with motor vehicle sales. So, and it's not going to be like junked vehicles aren't going to be sitting around or anything because frankly, there's no space. So, if there's junk vehicles sitting around it, I can't do anything with my business either. So, and there's no space. If you saw the site plan, there's just no space to kind of hold it around there either. So. And I think that an applicant said it earlier that there was a motor vehicle shop that rebuilds salvage vehicles. It's like 2 buildings down from where this one is. And they weren't lying when they said that there's junked cars all over. I actually went and took pictures from it from about 3 hours ago, and they're all over. This is 27051, 27058, and 059. There's just junked cars all over. They have cars sitting in the street that they're waiting for with the blue dealer tags and everything. So, that's not gonna be me. I don't, that's too much work for me, so.
All right, commissioners, do you have any questions for Anthony? I think we're good. Thank you very much. All right, at this time, I'd like to invite anyone to speak in opposite, or let's do in favor of the application. Seeing no one. Anyone in opposition? Seeing no one, I'm closing the floor to the public, and I'll ask for commissioners to make a motion so we can discuss.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to accept the conditional use permit with the conditions.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Discussion.
I think this would fall under a contractor shop. From what I know of them, especially with no outdoor storage needed at all, I think it's not a stretch from what the definition of contractor shop would necessarily be.
I guess my concern is like what Toby mentioned earlier, is that buildings aren't really made for automotive repair. What it does sound like you're basically just stripping them down. But, I'm sure there's engines, oil, flammables too. And is the building set up to handle that?
We require a zone permit that he'll have to obtain, and then our building inspectors will take a look at it to make sure that it's sufficient, things like that. So so that's not a concern, it's just,
Okay, that'll be addressed in,
it'll be addressed.
okay.
Yep. And it doesn't sound like he's doing really any kind of what I'll call body work or repair, that kind of stuff. It's mostly
Right.
just part sales and things like that, so.
Will there be a paint booth or anything involved? No, no paint booth? Okay. All right, we have a motion, a second. Any additional comments, questions? All right, with that, we'll do roll call. Do it the right way here. Commissioner Ensted,
Yes.
Commissioner Hogan,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
myself, I'll say yes, you seem like a nice young man. All right, that is it for our public hearings. Mr. Brown, do we have any new business?
No new business, but we will have a joint meeting next month. And we're gonna invite all of you because there's no applications on the agenda, but we are considering a regulation for medical cannabis that we'll do with the city of Sioux Falls. And so probably we'll send all the invite to all of you. And then one other quick thing I want to talk about too is at the meeting last week, I think it was last week or the week before, the joint one, we had an issue with kind of attendance and things like that. And so one thing that I wanted to throw out is we could have a Zoom set up so that if you guys couldn't make it, or if we really needed you, we could just have you call in on that. Is that something that you would think we should do, or?
Zoom meetings are so easy, and you
Yeah.
can just log in.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
And just to have that option, so like with me, I got caught at work and I just couldn't get out of there in time. And if I could have that option to, when I'm 2 hours away working on the project, being able to attend the meeting driving home, that'd be great.
So, the other thing is we'll probably bring a laptop down here because we didn't have access to anything really, like our computers or anything like that. So we'll just check that, but as kind of a backup fallout plan. And then when Jen probably calls you to check to see if you're gonna make it, if you could say, well, I can't make it, but if you need me, that's kind of what we really need is if we need you, could we just get you on Zoom so we can maintain a quorum and things like that, so.
Yes.
That's a
Are
great
you
idea.
talking about for the joint meetings or for everything?
For everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it just happened at the joint that we got a quorum, but it just took a little bit of time to get a quorum and things like that, but it would be
It's a
helpful.
little rough. It was a little rough.
We found out, so Sioux Falls they usually only have 5, but they actually had 6 here. But then what was even better is we learned that night that they don't pay them and they don't get mileage either, so.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's really incredible that they had 6 come down here that go through that part, so. But I think we want to have that a backup, more so I think when Jen calls and checks if you're gonna be here. If you say, well, I can't be here, I got something, but maybe we'll follow up question, well, if we really need you, could you do a Zoom for us and just help with us and that kind of a thing too, so. But
Yeah, no, I think that's great.
it really, we're down a planning commission member to our district. One of our districts hasn't been filled yet, so we have kind of a tight, kind of a tough,
Which district?
5, district number 5, Sioux Falls area.
Which, do you know the boundaries of that? 'Cause-
I was gonna say, what's the boundaries? Can we find somebody?
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, if you want to recruit, certainly do that. It's Commissioner Jim Schmidt's territory, so if you go on the website, you can just look at his.
Okay.
I believe it's kind of the Prairie Green area over to southeastern, I think, on that side.
Because I'll talk to you later about it. I approached a friend of mine and he'd be great for this, but he just had some conflicts, so I'll talk to you about it to see if you think that there'd be conflicts there.
Sure, yeah, and if you know anybody else, just let us know too. so.
Planning and zoning, and I got.
He's a commercial realtor.
That's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
So we'll
thank
see
you
in a
very
couple
much.
weeks then, so.
Commissioners, if you don't have anything, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I will second.
Motion is second, any discussion? I'll do roll call. Commissioner Ensted,
Yes.
Commissioner Hogan,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
and Commissioner Jungling says yes. Thank you, everyone. Good luck, Anthony.